We're up to chapter 4 of Harry Potter, by the way. For those who weren't here last time, in the last chapter of Harry Potter, weird letters started showing up. Alexa, stop! Thank you, Rachel. For those who... yeah, and the problem in this stream, his name is only Taiki. That's right, isn't it, Caleb? That's the problem this time. So, Alexa, stop. Okay. No, I didn't target you at all. Okay, ready? Chapter 4. I appreciate it, Lily. If you're wanting to get into a more Lily, if you're wanting to get into a more active chat, I am live on Twitch right now. There's a bunch of people over there, but that's totally up to you. Bless me. That's funny. Yes. I'm loving the act. Thank you. Mate, you should hear me when I sneeze properly. Okay, are we ready? Lock it in now. For those who weren't here last time, I'll continue this. Last time, weird letters started appearing at the Dursley's house, and Mr. Dudley, when he opened the letter, he wasn't happy about what was being read. It was addressed to Harry, but he still didn't let Harry read it, and he burnt it. And then over a period of time, more and more letters started appearing. So they ended up running all over the state, trying to hide from this letter, but the letters kept appearing. By the end of the chapter, they ended up at a rundown shack on an island, on a little island, in a storm, and at exactly midnight, when it was Harry's 11th birthday, he heard a bang, 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 bang on the door, and that's where we ended. So, settle down and get ready to enjoy chapter 4 of Harry Potter. Chapter 4. The Keeper of the Keys. Boom! They knocked again. Dudley jerked awake. "Where's the cannon?" he said stupidly. There was a crash, and behind them, Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Now they knew what there had been in the long, thin package he brought with him. "Who's there?" he shouted. "I warn you, I'm armed." Then there was a pause. Then smash! The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges, and with a deafening crash landed on the floor. A giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard, but you could make out his eyes glinting little black beetles under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into the frame. The noise of the storm outside was dropped a little. He turned to look at them all. "Couldn't make a cup of tea, could you, eh?" "It's not been an easy journey." He strode over to the sofa where Dudley was sat frozen in fear. Budge up, you great lump," said the stranger. Dudley squeaked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching terrified behind Uncle Vernon. "And here's Harry," said the giant. "Thank you for the follow, Lucy." Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw the beetle eyes crinkled into a smile. You look a lot like your dad, but you got your mum's eyes." Uncle Vernon made a funny rasping noise. "I demand that you leave at once, sir," he said. "You are breaking and entering." "Ah, shut up, Dursley, you great prune," said the giant. He reached over the hand of the back of the sofa, jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hands, bent it into a knot as easily as it had been made of rubber and threw it into the corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. Anyway, Harry, said the great giant, turning on the Dursleys, a very happy birthday to you. Got something for you here. I might have sat on it at some point, but it'll taste alright. From inside a pocket of his black overcoat, he pulled out a squished box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers, and inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake with Happy Birthday Harry written in green writing. I do need to set up my... No, you're all good. I need to set up my own emotes. I can do that tomorrow. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth, and what he said instead was, "Who are you?" The giant chuckled. "True, I haven't introduced myself yet. Rubeus Hagrid, keeper of the keys at the ground of Hogwarts." He held out an enormous hand and shook Harry's whole arm. "What about the tea then, eh?" he said, rubbing his hands together. "I'd not say no to something stronger if you've got it in mind." Oh, that's so funny. I didn't know that. That's such a cool thing to notice, Maroy. That's really cool. His eyes fell on an empty grate with the shriveled crisp packets in it, and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fireplace. It lit the whole damp hut with flickering light, and Harry felt the warmth wash over him as though he'd sunk into a hot bath. The giant sat back down on the sofa, which sagged under his weight, and began taking all sorts of things out of his pocket and of his coat. See, it's because it makes noise. I need to turn that off. Now that I've actually got to sorry to interrupt the reading. I don't think there's anybody in my TikTok at the moment anyway. But now that I've actually got a consistent amount of viewers, I think I need to turn that off. I only had that on because when I started, I didn't have any viewers, and all my viewers from TikTok. But now more of my viewers are on TikTok than they are on Twitch. Sorry, they are on TikTok. But I'll do that again. I'll do that tomorrow. He sat down, sagged under his weight, and began taking out all sorts of things out of his pockets. Do it now. I'll do it. Well, let me finish this page. A copper kettle, a squashy packet of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chip mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid, which he took a swig from before starting to make tea. Soon the hut was full of the sound of the smell of sizzling sausages. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working, but as he slid the first 6 fat, juicy, slightly burnt sausages from the poker, Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley." The giant chuckled darkly. "Your great puddin' of a son need fatten any more? Dursley, don't worry." He passed the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything quite so wonderful. But he still couldn't take his eyes off the giant. Finally, as nobody seemed to be about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't know who you are." "Call me Hagrid," he says. "Everyone does." "Hi, Stargirl. It's good to have you here. Sorry, I'm just reading. If I miss any of your chats, just because I'm reading." The giant took a gulp of tea and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm keeper of keys of Hogwarts. You know all about Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry," Harry said quickly. "Sorry," barked Hagrid, turning to stare at the Dursleys, who shrank back into the shadows. "It's them as should be sorry." Yeah, okay, it's that. I'll figure that out. It's them who should be sorry. I knew you weren't getting your letters, but I never thought you wouldn't be knowing about Hogwarts. For crying out loud, did you ever wonder where your parents learnt it all? All what? Said Harry. All what? Hagrid thundered. Now, wait just 1 second. He leapt to his feet. In his anger, he seemed to fill the whole hut. The Dursleys were cowering against the wall. Do you mean to tell me, he growled at the Dursleys, that this boy knows nothing about anything? The term begins... What the heck? I skipped the whole page. Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. I know some things, he said. I know you can... I can, do maths and stuff. But Hagrid simply waved his hand and said, about our world, I mean. Your world, my world, your parents' world. What world? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Hagrid looked as if it was about to explode. Dursley! He boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something about Mimblewimble. Hagrid stared wildly at Harry. But you must know about your mum and dad, he said. I mean, they're famous. You're famous. What? My mum and dad weren't famous, were they? You don't know? You don't know? Hagrid ran his fingers through his hair, fixing Harry with a bewildered stare. You don't know what you are? He said finally. Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. Stop! He commanded. Stop right there, sir. I forbid you tell the boy anything. A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. You never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him. I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it, Dursley. And you've kept it from him all these years. Kept what from me? Said Harry eagerly. Stop! I forbid you, Uncle Vernon said in a panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. Go ball your heads, both of you, said Hagrid. Harry, you're a wizard. There was a silence inside the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. I'm a what? Gasped Harry. A wizard, of course, said Hagrid, sitting back down on the sofa, which groaned and sank even lower and a thumper good one, I'd say, once you've been trained up a bit. With a mum and dad like yours, what else could you be, eh? I reckon it's about time you read the letter. Harry stretched out his hand at last to take the yellowish envelope addressed in emerald green to Mr. H. Potter. The floor, hut on the rock, the sea. He pulled out the letter and read, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster Albus Dumbledore, Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Sorcerer, Chief Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, International Confederation of Wizards. Dear Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have a place at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all the necessary books. Term begins September 1st. We await your owl, but no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Questions exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask. After a few minutes, he stammered, What does it mean, they wait for my owl? Calliope and Gorgons, that reminds me, said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse. And from yet another pocket inside his overcoat, he pulled an owl. A real live, rather ruffled-looking owl. A long quill and a roll of parchment. With his tongue between his teeth, he scribbled a note which Harry could read upside down. Dear Mr. Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, taking him to buy things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you're well. Hagrid. Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which clamped in its beak, went to the door, and threw the owl out the door. Then he came back and sat down as though this was normal and started talking on the telephone. Yeah, right now. Harry realized his mouth was open and closed it quickly. Where was I? Said Hagrid. But at that moment, Uncle Vernon's... Oh, there she is. Uncle Vernon... I was asking if anybody needed me to stop, but that's a no. Um, Uncle Vernon, his face still ashen-faced, but looking very angry, moved to the firelight. "He's not going," he said. Hagrid grunted. "I'd like to see a great muggle like you stop him," he said. "A what?" said Harry, interested. "A muggle," said Hagrid. "It's what we call non-magic folk like them. And it's your bad luck you grew up with a family of the biggest muggles I have ever laid my eyes on. We swore when we took him in we'd put a stop to that rubbish," said Uncle Vernon. "Swore we'd stump it out of him. Wizard, indeed." "You knew," said Harry. "You knew I'm a wizard?" "Knew?" shrieked Aunt Petunia suddenly. "Knew? Of course we knew. How could we not know? My dratted sister being what she was. Oh, she got a letter just like that and disappeared off to that school and came home every holiday with her pockets full of frog spawn turning teacups into rats. I was the only one who saw her for what she was. A freak. But for my mother and father, oh no, it was Lily this and Lily that. They were proud of having a witch in the family." She stopped to draw in a breath and then went ranting on. It seemed she had been wanting to say this for years. "Then she met that Potter at school and they left and got married and had you. And of course I knew you'd be just the same, just as strange, just as abnormal. And then, if you please, she went and got herself blown up and we got landed with you." Harry had gone very white. As soon as he found his voice, he said, "Blown up? You told me they died in a car crash." "Car crash?" roared Hagrid, jumping up so angrily that the Dursleys scuttled back to the corner. "How could a car crash kill Harry and James Potter? It's an outrage. A scandal. Harry Potter not knowing his own story when every kid in our world knows his name? But why? What happened?" Harry asked urgently. The anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. "I never expected," he said in a low, worried voice. "I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be trouble getting a hold of you. How much you didn't know." "Ah, Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing." He threw a dirty look at the Dursleys. "Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you. Mind I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery, parts of it." He sat down, stared into the fire for a few seconds, and then said, "It begins, I suppose, with a person called... But it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone at Computer knows." "Who?" "Well, I don't like saying his name if I can't help it. No one does." "Why not?" "Gulp and gargoyles, Harry. People are still scared." "Blimey, this is difficult." "See, there was this wizard who went bad. As bad as you can go. Worse. Worse than worse. His name was..." Hagrid gulped, but no words came out. "Could you write it down?" Harry suggested. "Nah, I can't spell it." "All right. Voldemort." Harry shuddered. "Don't make me say that again." "Anyway, this wizard, about 20 years ago, started looking for followers. Got 'em too. Some were afraid, some just wanted a bit of his power, because he was getting himself power all right. Dark days, Harry. Didn't know who you could trust. Didn't dare get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened. He was taken over. Of course, some stood up to him, and he killed them. Horribly. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts. I reckon Dumbledore's the only one who you-know-who was afraid of. Didn't dare try taking the school. Not just then, anyway. Now, your mum and your dad were as good a witch and a wizard as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you-know-who never tried to get them on his side before. Probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted him out of the way. Anyway, all anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you all were living on Halloween 10 years ago. You were just a year old. He came to your house and Hagrid suddenly pulled out a very dirty spotted handkerchief and blew his nose with a sound like a foghorn. "Sorry," he said, "but it's that sad. Your mum and your dad and nicer people couldn't find anyway. You know who killed them. And this is the real mystery of the thing. He tried to kill you too. Wanted to make a clean job of it. I suppose, or maybe he just liked killing by then. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered how you got that mark on your forehead? That's no ordinary cut. That's what you get when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mum and dad and her house even, but it didn't work on you. And that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one except you. He'd killed some of the best witches and wizards in the age. The McKinnons, the Bones, the Pruitts. As you know, only a baby as you lived. Something very painful was going on inside Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blinding flash of green light, more clearly than he ever remembered it before. And he remembered something for the first time in his life. A high, cold, cruel laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself, on Dumbledore's orders. Brought you to this lot. Load of old tosh, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten the Dursleys were there. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have gotten back a lot of his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid and his fists were clenched. Now you listen here, boy, he snarled. I accept there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good beating wouldn't have cured. And as for all this about your parents, well, they were weirdos, no denying it. And the world's better off without them, in my opinion. Asked for all they got, getting mixed up with wizarding types. Just what I expected. Always knew they'd come to a sticky end. But at that moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from his coat. Pointing into the Uncle Vernon like a sword, he said, I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word. Thank you for the follow, Grace. One more word. In danger of being speared at the end of an umbrella by a bearded giant, Uncle Vernon's courage failed him again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily and sitting back on the sofa, which this time sagged down to the floor. Harry, meanwhile, still had questions, hundreds of them. But what happened to sorry, you know who. Good question, Harry. Disappeared. Vanished. Same night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. It is the first Harry Potter book. We're up chapter 4, Grace. That's the biggest mystery, you see. He was getting more and more power. Why'd he go? Some say he died. Codswallop, in my opinion. Don't know if he had enough human left in him to die. Some say he's still out there biding his time. But I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to ours. Some of them came out of trances. Don't reckon they could have done it if he was coming back. Most of them reckon he's still out there somewhere but lost his powers. Too weak to carry on. Because something about you finished him, Harry. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. I don't know what it was. No one does. But something about you stopped him, alright. Hagrid looked at Harry with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes, but Harry instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure that there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Thank you, Grace. Him? How could he possibly be? He spent his life being clouted by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he really was a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into watery toads every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard? If he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, how come Dudley had always been able to kick him around like a football? Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I'm a wizard. To his surprise, thank you for the share, Grace. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. If you wanted to, Grace, you feel free to follow. I do a reading every night. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen to you when you were scared or angry? Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made Uncle and Aunt furious with him had happened when he, Harry, had been upset or angry. Chased by Dudley's gang, he had somehow found himself out of their reach, Dreading going to school with that ridiculous haircut, he managed to make it grow back. And the very last time Dudley had hit him, hadn't he got his revenge without even realizing he was doing it? Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. See, said Hagrid. You wait, you'll be right famous at Hogwarts. But Uncle Vernon wasn't going to give in without a fight. Haven't I told you he's not going, he hissed. He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and he needs all sorts of rubbish, spellbooks and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him. Growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's son from going to Hogwarts? You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. 7 years there and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort for a change, and he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever seen, Albus Dumbledore. I am not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he finally had gone too far. Hagrid seized his umbrella and whirled it over his head. Never, he thundered. Insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. He brought the umbrella swishing down around the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, and suddenly, like a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped around his fat bottom, howling in pain. When he turned back on his back to look at them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking from a hole in his trousers. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door shut behind them. Hagrid looked down his umbrella and stroked his beard. Shouldn't have lost my temper, he said ruefully, but it didn't work anyway. Meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was so much like a pig anyway, there wasn't much left to do. He cast a sideways look at Harry under his bushy eyebrows. Be grateful if you didn't mention that to anyone at Hogwarts, he said. I'm not supposed to do magic, strictly speaking. I was allowed to do a bit to follow you and get your letters to you and stuff. One of the reasons I was so keen to take the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Asked Harry. Oh, well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but got expelled to tell you the truth. In me 3rd year. They snapped me wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay as a gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Why were you expelled? It's getting late and we've got lots to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Got to get you into town, get all your books and that. He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep under that, he said. Don't mind if it wriggles a bit. I think I still got a couple of dormice in one of the pockets.